Okay, welcome everybody to our final meeting in December and also our final meeting of 2023. Doesn't seem that long ago, we were just getting started here. So yeah, time has flew by fairly quickly. So just before we begin our meeting, I would ask our council and our guests, if we so wish, we'll bow our heads and have a moment of silent reflection. Okay, thank you. All right, so we'll call the meeting to order. First item on the agenda is the confirmation of the agenda as it was sent out, I believe, Friday. Do we have a mover and seconder for that? Councillor O'Donnell and Councillor Vink? No, Councillor Chessel, sorry. Councillor Chessel. Well, I just was glancing at the name tag badges there. Anyways, all those in favor of that motion, opposed if any, that is carried. So does anybody have a conflict of interest with anything on that agenda? If not, that's fine. If you do, you can always declare it at that time. So the consent agenda is there. There are 19 items on that consent agenda. Is there anything there that anybody would like a little more clarification on or like pulled and dealt with separately? I'll take Deputy Mayor Jankowski first.
Yes, Your Worship. Item 4.9, Township of Clearview resolution regarding cemetery transfer and abandonment. I'd like to pull that out for a separate discussion, please.
Good. All right. Councillor Fournier, did you have a point?
The consent agenda item 4.3, resolution regarding the NEC proposal to expand use of the permit by rule. I'd like to pull that out for further discussion if we could.
Okay, so we'll pull those two items out then. That was, pardon? Oh, okay, just a second. Let me get this down. 4.3, okay. Councillor Phelps?
The resolution regarding the amendment to the Income Tax Act for the firefighter credit. Just wonder if we could direct staff to send a letter to Roland OMA and BRA for support.
Okay, well, we can, yeah, we can pull that and then and support it and deal with that one. So which one was that, Doug?
4.1.
4.1, first one, right, okay. All right. Oh, Mr. Harrell, yes, Councillor Harrell, go ahead.
Item 4.2, South Bruce's resolution regarding Ontario Association of Sewage Industry Services. I'm looking to get a little more information on that, maybe some input or opinion from our staff on what they think of that.
Okay, all right. Okay. Is there any that you don't want to pull out tonight? All right, so the consent agenda, I guess a motion that we accept consent agenda items 4.1 to 4.8 and 4.10 to 419. Right? I haven't mentioned that. We're pulling them out. So it's 4.4 through to 4.8 because we're pulling 4.9 out, and then 410 to 419. So a motion to accept those consent items moved by Councillor Rose, seconded by Councillor Foster. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Okay, 4.1 from Municipality of Wawa, a resolution regarding the amendment to the Income Tax Act. And that was Councillor Phelps. You just would like a little more information, or you just want to support it. So a motion that we support the motion from the Municipality of Wawa regarding amendment to the income tax for firefighters. So do you want to move that, Doug? Okay, do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Chessel, any further discussion on that? Go ahead, Councillor Fournier.
There's just one paragraph in here that I was trying to figure out when I was reading in regards to our own firefighters. It's the bit where it says the tax code of Canada currently allows volunteer firefighters and search and rescue volunteers to claim a $3,000 tax credit or 200 hours of volunteer services repeated a calendar year. The next point says this works out to a mere $450 a year, which we allow these essential volunteers to keep up their own income from their regular jobs to $225 an hour. I couldn't make heads or tails of that sentence, and I was hoping somebody could help.
I think, I don't know, Wendy, can you elaborate on that? I know I know our former CAO seemed to be on top of that. I don't know, Greg, I'm not throwing you under the bus. I don't know if you, yeah, okay, that's great.
Unfortunately, I don't have that answer. So I don't know the answer to that question.
Yeah, I'll turn it over to Greg.
So,
then.
so as is stated here, Mr. Mayor, that that there is a tax credit for any compensation, because I'll use the word compensation, that is provided to firefighters. And so what they wanted to do was to have, this it says in here, the federal government initiated a tax credit recognizing these individuals and calling on the federal government to increase the tax credit from 3,000 to 10,000. Right, so it's still at the 3,000, and so based on their compensation rates that they have, reading this, it's that the 200 hours would equate to somewhere in the neighborhood of the $3,000 per year, which means that their credit would be $450 is what they would get on their taxes, right? Is the way that it reads. So ours are a little different. So what he's saying is that the credit, that $450 credit amounts to somewhere in the neighborhood of $2.25 an hour. So if you take the 450 divided by the 200, you get the 225 an hour. So that's the point that they're making.
Chief Hunter, do you want to elaborate anything more on that?
No, I think the CAO got it right on. But the $10,000, so it would just give them that additional 450 based on 3,000. So they would be getting a credit of around $1,500 a year with a $10,000 maximum credit. And it's based on them putting in 200 hours of volunteer service, which for our firefighters basically is everyone puts in at least 200 hours. So any change, a positive change to this would certainly be a benefit to all of our firefighters.
Okay, thank you, Chief Hunter. Any other questions with regards to that resolution? Okay, Doug moved it. We had a seconder, didn't we? I think, yes, Councillor Chessel seconded that. Okay, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. The next one is 4.2, Municipality of South Ruth, resolution regarding the Ontario Association of Sewage Industry Services. And Councillor Harold, you just want to make a motion that staff come back with a little more information regards to that?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm looking for there. It's about, it's the urgency to build homes as fast as we can, but there's a lot of concern that we won't have that section of infrastructure to cover it.
You'll move that? Do we have a
Yes.
seconder for that resolution? Councillor Fournier? Any further discussion on that? Just a staff report is what we're looking for. Okay, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. And moving on, one from Prince Edward County, a resolution regarding the MECP proposal to expand the use of permit by rule. And who was that one? Oh, Councillor Fournier.
I was looking for a bit of discussion on it, and also a resolution of support for Prince Edward County, but specifically one line in here caught my attention. It says that activities that pose low risk to the environment should not be required to go through the approval process and instead should self-register on the environmental activity and sector registry. That struck me as being a shockingly bad idea, because people will try to not register as much as they possibly can.
So, Mr. Mayor and members of council, so there is the, if there's any public comment on areas related to everything from, official plan amendments, municipal environmental assessment act requirements. This particular web portal is where all of the comment goes back into MECP. So for all of these particular things. So that's why they're directing individuals that if they have any comment, that they go to the ESR portal, and then you can register whatever comment you wish on this particular issue.
Another question?
This doesn't seem to say anything about portals or comments. It's directly saying that people that are undertaking less complex activities that pose low risk to the environment should self-register. And later on in the letter, it says that the conservation authority in question is concerned that some of the activities that are proposed to move to that self-registry do actively pose a risk to the water quality and human health. So it just seems like an example of edging towards the situation going bad, and stay as many steps away from the situation going bad as we can, I say. So I would like, as I say, a letter of resolution for support for Prince Edward County in regards to their concerns on this issue.
Okay, I guess the question I asked, do we have enough information to support it, or would you like a little further information before we go that far?
Some further information regarding what exactly the low risk activities they're talking about could be quite helpful. It would help clarify the discussion, certainly.
So maybe we could get some staff to come back with a little more information on that. You want to make that a motion then? And do we have a seconder for that, Councilor Harold? Any further discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor? Come back with a report on that one as well. And then the last one is Deputy Mayor Kinkowski's Township of Clearview resolution regarding cemetery transfer and abandonment.
Thank you, Your Worship. So the Township of Clearview has indicated that they're concerned about the growing number of cemeteries that have had to fall under their care. And as a result, they're appealing to the province to seek relief from the growing burden, financial, administrative burden owing to the long-term care, maintenance, and operation of these facilities. As the active churches congregations dwindle and decline, this will be a continuing issue, not only for Clearview Township, but even in our own jurisdiction. Currently, West Perth is responsible for 5 cemeteries, and that list potentially could increase as time goes on. So I would recommend that we offer an endorsement in support of Clearview Township's appeal to the province for relief.
Okay, thank you, Dean. So you're going to move that, of course. Yeah. We have a seconder for that recommendation. Take my pick here. Councillor Duck. I guess I would, the only comment I would make is with regards to the province, and that it's going to be a tough sell, I think, to get them to take that over. But it's not only the municipalities that need help. Like there's some dwindling churches that have cemeteries as well, and it would be nice if there was some type of system that they had assistance, because if they don't get assistance, you know, some of them, they just can't afford to swing it. So it's something that's in the future we're going to have to deal with. So Murray?
Do a lot of the cemeteries not have the perpetual care when they sell plots, that there's so much goes towards that? Where does that money go into?
Yep. Some do and some don't do the transfer as noted in the report. So if there were a transfer, they all vary. So you could get some money, you could not get some money. Generally speaking though, if you were to look at what our care and maintenance funds are for our cemeteries, it's very minimal. And what you can use it for, and Wendy, I know you maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but we could draw the interest if we wanted to for certain factors. But as far as I'll say, I see a hand going up, so I'll just stop talking.
Sorry, so for the interest already goes back into the operations of the cemeteries. So any investment income we are making from perpetual care helps pay for grass cutting and any kind of operational expense.
Just, I guess, just as a jumping off from the deputy mayor's comments, there is and can be a significant amount of liability back to the municipality, and I'll give you an example. In some of these older cemeteries, let's say that they become heritage cemeteries, so they're no longer taking any new interments. They can come back to the municipality. And a good example might be that if there are any of their monuments, some of the larger monuments, they may not have been installed properly at the time that they were put in, so they didn't have good footings and foundations. And all of a sudden, they have a bit of a lean to them. We could be ordered through the province, typically the Ministry of Labor, to repair that situation because it's a health and safety issue. And I've had that happen in other communities that I've been the CAO. And it could cost you a significant number of thousands of dollars in order to do that, even though you didn't have any jurisdiction on that particular cemetery. So we could be put in that situation.
Well, I think we have seen in the last 10 or 12 years, we've gone from, I don't know whether we had any budget item for cemeteries to now that just the care and maintenance, the grass cutting is already an item on our budget, you know. So, you know, we've gone that way. Anyways, any other comments on that? So it's been duly moved and seconded that we support that resolution. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. And I think that has got everything dealt with in the consent agenda. Moving on then, we don't have any public meeting or delegations tonight. Our next item under reports is the planning department, and we have an application for consent, B number 40, 2023, with regards to a severance on 5392 line 26. And I believe John Bice is going to walk us through that one. John, the floor is yours.
All right, so before you today is consent to sever application number B40-23. The owner is Sharon Flanagan. The purchaser is Grace Farms Limited. It's located at 5392 line 26 at the Red Star. It's about halfway between Fullerton and Cromarty. Carlingford, thank you. All right, so the proposed severed lot would have a lot area of 0.77 hectares, which would equate to about 1.9 acres. As you can see in the severance sketch, it's proposing to sever the corner of these subject lands. The retained farm lot would have a lot area of 41.2 hectares, which is 101.8 acres. There is a barn on the property that would remain with the retained lands. As a condition of consent, the landowners will need to get a agreement to not house livestock. So essentially, it would be a change of use permit with the building department. So the area outlined in yellow is the severed portion, and the area in red is retained. As a condition of consent, they'll need to go through a rezoning application. For the severed lot, they'll need to change to A1 to allow for a non-farm residential dwelling. And then for the retained lands, they need to go to A3, which would prohibit any new construction of a new dwelling. They'll also need a site-specific zoning bylaw amendment to allow for a reduced interior side yard setback for that barn. So the dwelling, this photo was taken of the dwelling on December 14th. It was deemed habitable and it's at least 10 years of age. This is an image of the barn. It's going to remain for storage purposes only. And this is an image of the hydro pole that extends into the severed portion or the residential component. Essentially, this is just to show that there is some manicured lawn that was contemplated to go back towards the retained land. However, it was established that this would be a residential component, a hydro pole, and would be difficult to maneuver a combine around. So I can take any questions at this time. We did receive 2 comments from agencies, one from Hydro One stating that they had no objections, and the other from the Blue Water Recycling Association that said they had no comments as well. Public notice was provided to the neighboring property owners on November 24th in accordance with all the requirements of the Planning Act. I can take any questions. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, John. Any questions with regards to this severance application? No questions? Or Andrew, you have your hand up? Yeah, go ahead.
Just one quick question through your worship. It says that they had entered into agreement with the County of Perth to not put any new residential dwellings on the retained farm lot. I'm probably misremembering, but hasn't there been new provincial legislation allowing the municipalities to approve 3 new houses on each side of a farm lot? Wouldn't this agreement be in conflict with that?
So through you, Mayor McKenzie, that was contemplated, but it was quashed at the provincial level. So that is no longer being contemplated.
And it's actually a standard condition that on the, when the house is severed on the remaining farm parcel, there won't be any further residence. That's just a standard consent item that goes on. Hasn't changed yet.
Through you, Mayor McKenzie. Yes, so essentially what that's stating is that there's a need for the farmer to consolidate that property, and hence they don't need that specific dwelling. Kind of, if we were to go ahead and allow dwellings on that retained parcel, we go against kind of the nature of the consolidated farm operation policies. Thanks.
Any other questions in regards to this application? If not, we do have a recommendation here, and it's that the Council Municipality of West Perth advise the Land Division Committee or its delegated authority that the Municipality of West Perth supports the application file B4023 submitted by Monteith Ritzma Phillips Professional Corporation on behalf of Sharon Flanagan for lands described as Lot 10 Concession 6, Fullerton. And we've got Fullerton 9889 West Perth Municipality, known as 5392 line 26, subject to the conditions listed on the staff report dated December the 18th, 2023. We have a mover and seconder for that. Moved by Councillor Harold, seconded by Councillor Vink. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Very good. Thanks, John. All right, the next item up then is our chief building official and the third quarter permit summary report. Bob?
Yes, the monthly reports are July, August, and September. They're listed. Are there any questions?
Somebody must have a question, I'm sure. No questions for Bob? If not, we do have a recommendation that the council. Sorry?
Through you, your worship. So the number of applications so far for 2023 up to the third quarter, still a high level of activity compared to last year.
Yes, our most recent permit applications for December were up over 260 permit applications this year.
So there'll be no lack of work for you when you come back after holidays for you and the staff then.
That's correct.
That's good news.
Anybody else? Okay, the recommendation is then the Council Municipality of West Perth receive the third quarter permit summary information report. Got a mover and seconder for that, Councilor Phelps, Councilor Fournier, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Thanks, Bob. I don't believe we have anything from the fire chief or the librarian. The operations manager is not here tonight as well, so it brings us down to Darcy and Recreation Facilities and Parks.
Thank you, Mayor McKenzie and Council. I'll just do a quick update on a few of the headlines. The Parks and Rec Master Plan, as noted, our first meeting is January 8th, where we'll really nail down some dates, but I'll give you some rough timelines of what we're looking at throughout the process. Staff and SLT workshop will be in early March. Online survey, youth engagement, and the stakeholder focus groups you'll see in about the middle of March to the middle of April. Public open house number 1 will be mid-April. Public open house number 2 will be late July. And you'll see presentations to council in mid-May and late August, which will be our final report to council and when the final master plan is ready. In recreation, ice rentals are very similar to 2022. And the main reason is because we're full. We're full from 4 o'clock till 9 o'clock, or 11 o'clock every day. And on weekends, we're full. If we have an hour of rentable prime ice a week, that's basically the max. We also have 2 to 3 rentals during the day, almost every day, as well as Tuesday to Friday, we are starting at 6 a.m. or 6:30 a.m. So, and that was same as 2022. So very similar. Programs, our Cooking with Class is again full. We are running 2 programs in the winter. We just opened registration and they're pretty much both full. I think we have 1 or 2 spots remaining. PA day camps, we've seen an increase of 5 to 10 children per day in PA day camps. Winter break day camps, we're seeing an increase of about 10 kids per day. And our day camp is relatively the same. And that's again, we have a maximum of 30 and both years we've averaged 29 kids per day. All in program revenue increase of 2022 to 2023 is about $10,000. All rentals are very similar. Actually, dollar-wise, by the end, will be just above 2022 from 2023, and that's more just because of cost of living. Our rentals are very, very similar. However, the hall is seeing a lot of different uses. We had added an extra day for pickleball. Senior exercise classes have now started in there. Cooking with Class obviously uses the kitchen. So we're seeing a lot of different uses in the hall, but as far as rentals and revenue, it's pretty much the same as 2022. The youth, total events that we did in 2023 was 193. In 2022, we did 134. So we were able to add almost 60 events this year. In 2022, we averaged 4.1 participants. 2023, we averaged 7 participants per event. And some more good news is last quarter of 2023, we averaged 11.3. And even more in December, we're averaging 13.5 kids so far. Total visits in 2022 to the youth center was 551. In 2023, we've seen 1,346. In 2022, we weren't able to track the individual youth visits, but we did in 2023, and we know we had at least 129 individual youth use the services at the youth center. When I spoke to staff about the yearly recap, one thing they really wanted noted is that at the end of 2023, they have really seen youth open up. We've had a couple youth come forward to our counselors or to our staff with issues from home and social life, and we're able to get them the services they need. So that was very rewarding to staff to see the youth open up and get assist. And then finally, the youth meeting with Mel. Just to note that all those are being considered. some of them, the update of the skate park is the final, as you guys will note, the final part of the Ketterson Park master plan, so that you will see that during the budget process. Another thing they brought up is bike racks. We have already purchased bike racks and they will be installed in the spring. They just came late enough that it wasn't worth installing in the winter. And then we'll also note some of they want to know about some volunteer opportunities, so we'll make that a priority in 2024 to make them aware and advertise our volunteer opportunities. And then the other thing was art murals around town to try to stop the spray painting and vandalism, maybe paint some of those walls with some art murals. So we'll be discussing that in 2024 as well. But that is my recap, and I'll gladly take any questions.
Okay, any questions for Darcy? Counselor Phelps?
The hand rails on the steps, did they get installed?
At the
They're
arena?
not?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Didn't notice.
Yep, they are installed.
And very well used. Yeah. Anybody else? Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, your worship, through you. It's just a comment. Going back to a previous term of council, some might recall there was some hesitation about the youth component. And we were a little bit unsure at the time, but I'm glad that council in the day had the foresight and the confidence to go ahead with the youth programming part of this department. It's like planting a tree. It takes a while before it bears fruit, and it sounds like there's a high level of engagement. And as you said, Darcy, the youth are opening up, and that's what we were looking for when we first talked about this in the previous term. So thanks for the information and the report. Keep up the good work.
Yeah, I do appreciate council support throughout the process of starting it up. It was a bit slow as you tried to figure out what it was and what it could to provide to them, but it has definitely been a success story, and these numbers definitely speak volumes.
Okay, I guess the only comment that I have, certainly this facility is rented out a lot, and it doesn't seem to have had an impact on the rentals at the community center. So these are all extra rentals that are coming this way, aren't they?
Yeah, when I dove into the numbers, I was wondering if I would see that, and yeah, we don't really see a dip at all in hall rentals or room rentals at the arena. So yeah, the rentals that are here, I don't see are impacting the arena rentals.
Good. Any other questions for Darcy? Okay. Anything else? Recommendation here then that Council Municipality of West Perth receive the Recreation and Facilities Department information. Moved by Councillor Rowe, seconded by Councillor Doug. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Darcy, just before you go, I have a question. And it's with regards to the pavilion and the user groups. And we had met prior to building that, and we talked about fundraising and one thing and another. Has there been any collaboration or meeting with those groups since we finished building it?
I haven't had a meeting with all of them. I did go to a couple. I went to the Lions Club meeting and expressed our fundraising goals and our fundraising efforts. But no, I haven't sat down with all of the groups to talk to them individually.
It's maybe something that we should look at in the new year. You know, like it's great to do the recreation master plan of what we want to see in the future, but it's also nice to look after what we've got and get it kind of paid off and out of the road as well, you know, so.
Yeah, I will note there is some exciting stuff coming to the capital budget information about another use for the pavilion that could help us as well. So
Right.
I will
Yes.
bring that to the capital budget.
Okay, very good. Thanks, Darcy. Good. Okay. Next up is the treasurer, and maybe Wendy, I'm not throwing you under the bus here, but we could maybe start with a good news announcement that come through last week.
Yeah, so we got a announcement from OCIF that we're gonna get 1.199829 in grant funding for capital infrastructure. So it's great news. That'll help us with our capital projects.
Any questions on that? Where do you want to put that, Nicholas? It's already spent, yeah. Okay, go ahead, Wendy, sorry.
So the report before you is our annual adjustment for development charges, as the bylaw allows. We can index it based on a prescribed rate, and that rate is 8.1%. And so there's the new rates if council wishes to index them. If there's any questions.
Questions, go ahead, Councillor Vink.
Mayor McKenzie, hadn't we earlier this year laid out a schedule already for the development charges through and further through 2024 and 2025 of what developers and people building might see? That this would be an addition to that schedule?
So our background study only goes until September 3rd, 2024. So we have a DC background study currently on the go. And through that study, they do background check to see what is a growth component. And from that study, they'll propose new development charge rates starting in September. And the province has new legislation that it's phased in. But there is some concern about the phase in, and we'll have something come through an agenda on that. But that is, so you will be seeing new rates coming starting 2024. So the current background study has a prescribed rate out until 2024. And so we have indexed it for the last two years, just to keep up with our costs in construction materials.
Hadn't we done that, I'll say 6 months ago, and laid out a schedule of how the development charges were going to be implemented 6 months and then now and then into 2024?
Not that I recall. There's building fees. Building fees came forward.
We have, and I'm drawing a blank here, but we did have somebody come and make a presentation to us. And I can't, because I don't have his name in front of me, I can't remember who that was, but we had hired him to do a study.
I think it's the building fees.
Okay, and
The
that.
building fees, they're phased in, correct? And we approved the rate to go up in starting the time of October.
The building fee schedule that council approved was set, implemented in September. We initiated the first round of increases October the 1st. There's a second increase due January 1st of 24, and the final increase in January of 2025.
And they hadn't been tweaked or adjusted for some time before that, had they?
That's correct, Your Worship. It was, those fees were set in 2008.
And I think maybe that's what we're thinking of, Nicholas? Yeah, okay. Oh, go ahead, sure.
So, Mr. Mayor and members of council, so we have to follow the development charges bylaw. So that bylaw has been in place, and that bylaw is still in effect until, as Wendy has said, until October of 2024. We've started the new process as far as doing the review. So we have to replace that bylaw prior to its expiry. But in the existing bylaw, there sets out a requirement where we have to do annual indexing, and it also sets out the provisions of what of the construction cost index is the index that we utilize, and that's where the 8.1% comes from. So it's prescriptive in the bylaw. We can't change it, but there will be a significant amount of consultation happening with Wendy and her team, and I would imagine council as well, and the community related to the new development charges bylaw and background study.
I'll just add that the bylaw, excuse me, expires September 3rd, 2024. So we have to have 60 days prior, so you'll be seeing those early spring.
Just one quick question to your worship. Does Dublin count as rural, or is it, seeing as it's in a settlement area, does it have the same development charges as the Mitchell settlement area?
I'm gonna look to Bob for that. I don't charge them. I don't say.
The development charges fees are separate for the rural area. And they are indexed as well. So there is a, I believe the question was, there is a separate development charge fee for singles, semis, and apartment buildings. In the urban ward, they are somewhat reduced in the rural ward because of servicing.
So I would say because there's no water, wastewater, then they are considered rural service area. And so Dublin would be the rural service area rates that you're seeing on the screen. Because there's no water or wastewater.
You turn your mic on?
Through your worship again, can I ask for one further item of clarification on development charges, possibly for a later council meeting? Seeing as I'm getting a lot of requests from some of my constituents in Staffa and Dublin for municipal services such as sidewalks, which they used to receive, would it be possible to re-examine the rural development charges so that if at some point we decide that Staffa and Dublin do get sidewalks, that they could have appropriate development charges within those settlement areas to reflect that increased service?
Development charges are for growth related. So if Dublin is going to grow, then the development charges will pay for the growth. So replacement of existing infrastructure comes from your reserves or your levy, doesn't come from development charges. Does that help clarify that?
I was meaning like if you were replacing a house, I thought there was the same development charge for replacing a house as there was for building a house.
With regards to the sidewalks, they can be put in and area rated. In other words, whoever has frontage up against the sidewalk would be billed for it. So that's possible. Nicholas, go ahead.
I did, Mayor McKenzie, find the spot that I was looking for. We did consider it wasn't as recently as I thought it was, a 17% increase in development charges that came into effect at the beginning of this year. So then this would be the next increase, I guess, on top of that 17% increase. And I think we had some discussion at that time of phasing in that 17% over time. But may I ask, would there be an opportunity to phase in, or the development charges aren't able to be phased in? And now I guess we're giving enough notice. It's 3/4 of a year notice that the new development charges are going to be implemented, that we wouldn't need to be offer a phase-in approach, I guess.
I guess either Greg or Bob. Greg's here.
Just a point of clarification, Your Worship. So are you asking about phasing in of the new development charges coming from as a result of the new study and that? Yeah, so the 8.1% typically wouldn't be phased, but when council has their conversation about the next round of development charges, there is a provision now, there's a requirement from the province that some of them need to be phased. Okay, so depending on the type of use. So we're going to have that conversation with council for the next study that occurs.
Councillor Rose.
Wendy, do you know what the current development charges are? Like they're going up January 1st to 11,568 on new build, correct? So what are they now? 9,500 or 98?
They're $10,701.77 for a single detached.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yep,
Councillor Bing, go
And
ahead.
if I may, I think that's what we discussed at the beginning of this year, was that 17% increase in development charges that would land us through to 2024, that we weren't, or I wasn't expecting another 8% on top of that 17% to be added in this 2024 period.
So the provision in the bylaw just allows for indexing, so council does not have to approve the indexing. So if you don't want it, then you wouldn't approve the report in the indexing, and you would stick with the current rate at 10,000. It's just the bylaw allows for indexing, and it's a prescribed way of doing it, and that method equals 8.1%. And so we're just giving you as an option that you can. It's just because construction costs are going up. It's just a way to help balance our portion of it.
Other questions? I guess, you know, as a rule, you're better to take a little movement as we go along than to take no movement and then get caught down the road. And we've seen that happen before, not only with this municipality, but other ones as well. Okay, anything else, Wendy, on that?
Nope.
Okay. Any other questions for Wendy with regards to that before we pass the recommendation? Okay, we do have a recommendation here. And it is that the municipality of West Perth approve an 8.1% increase to the development charges rates in accordance with bylaw 63, 2019, section 75, and that the approved rates come into effect January the 1st, 2024. We have a mover and seconder for that. Whoops, sorry. Councillor Phelps, Councillor Foster. Any further discussion? Nicholas, go ahead.
I'm wondering if it would be acceptable to the mover and seconder and the rest of council that maybe that date be pushed out into the new year some. This would be the first time that I think many of the developers would be seeing this 8% number coming up starting in January. Unless we've had prior communication with them, that I think we set that number out in June 1 as an example. It would give some time for developers for planning and us some time for communicating the new rate change. So they would be able to get their applications in at the old rate if they were still doing any work yet in the next 6 months.
So would it be more palatable, Councillor Bink, if we took the 8.1% out of there and just added, and I haven't done the math, but $1,000 and some dollars increase? Would that sound better than the 8.1%?
Well, 17% at the beginning of this year, and now 8% now. That's a more than a quarter when you compound that on top of each other. That's more than a 25% increase in less than 12 months.
The bylaw is quite prescriptive, Mr. Mayor and Councillor Bink. We're not, any indexing has to take place as of the first of the, so it's stipulated in the bylaw that it has to start on the 1st of January of 2024.
So I guess that answers your question. Any other questions or comments with regards to? Okay. No? Yes? Okay. So the recommendation that we have, it's been moved and seconded. Okay. Any further discussion? Andrew, yes.
Again, I'm probably misremembering, but didn't Bill 23 give like a 5-year cap on development charge increases, that it had to be a 5-year phase in anyway?
I can speak to that, Mr. Mayor, through the Councillor Fournier. In the new development bylaws that come forward, there will be the phase in, as I mentioned. Any existing bylaws that have been passed and passed by councillors, but by councils across Ontario, remain in effect with their original terms and conditions of the bylaw. So our bylaw, as Wendy said, because the bylaws, the life of the bylaw is 5 years. And so ours expires in September of 2024. And so we have to follow the provisions of that bylaw that council passed. So it's still in effect.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, we still haven't taken a vote on that. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. No further discussion. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Thank you. Thank you, Wendy. All right, I don't believe we have anything from the clerk's department. Nothing from the CAO. We do have an item of correspondence from Watson and Associates with regards to affordable homes. And I don't know, I'm looking at Wendy and Greg here. I don't know if somebody wants to kind of highlight that report or not. We had it for the weekend to peruse over.
You didn't list me, but I'll jump in.
No.
It's okay, it's okay. I'm
I
not,
asked you before the meeting.
yeah, and, at this point, as Wendy mentioned, Watson Associates is going through the DC study for council. So there are a lot of questions and the environment's changing quite a bit. And through this affordable homes, we also had the conversation around half, when we were submitting our half grant, and particularly definitions around affordable homes. So really, this is just the latest and greatest update that we've all been given. As they get them, Watson will kind of dissect them a little bit and give us kind of the Coles notes. And as they said there's still some clarity to come without having it up in front of me, but there's still some sections, dates that need to be fully announced. Section 3 of Schedule 3 is the enforced day. So as far as right now, it's still not enforced. That's the last update that I have. So it's a bit of a different piece of legislation.
Yeah. Okay, thanks, Dan. Any questions for Dan on that? Councillor Fournier again.
Through your worship, Dan, I was just wondering, can you tell me why the income figures on the income percentiles on the provincial policy statement housing tables are different from the affordable house price graph to the renter price graph? I couldn't quite make heads or tails of that.
I cannot. We can certainly bring that back to Watson to try and get the answer.
Anybody else? Okay, not seeing anything. We have a recommendation then that the municipality of West Perth accept correspondence as information. Move to seconder for that. Councillor Phelps, or Deputy Mayor Chinkowski, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Okay, moving on then. We do have bylaw number 71, which is a bylaw to amend bylaw number 14 to provide for the collection of actual costs on the constant drain. And the recommendation is that we give first and second reading to bylaw 71, 2023, this 18th day of December. And it's because it came in a little over the engineer's estimate. So it's a little higher. So hence the new bylaw. We have a mover and seconder for that. Councillor Foster, Councillor Harold, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. And then the third and final reading for bylaw 71 for the constant drain. Mover and seconder for that, Councillor Vink, and seconded by Councillor Foster. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Brings us down to announcements. Certainly in a couple things coming up towards the end of the year. First of all, I'm going to start off with tomorrow, December the 19th, from 2 to 4 is an open house for our retiring operations manager, Mike Creamer. And we were talking a little bit here, maybe a little bit of a formal program around 2:30 or so at that time. And yeah, if there's anybody out there that you think would be interested in coming that knows Mike, you can extend the invitation, I'm sure. The 30th is the homecoming pre-New Year's bash, we call it. And the levy on the 7th, and then the 15th will be our next get together for council. And that'll be a capital budget meeting with a regular council meeting the end of January. Oh, sorry, Alex?
I just had a question for Dan. We don't need to have another meeting in January. We said at the start of the month, we'd have discussion if we needed it or not, or if we could fit it all in. I was just wondering what that was looking like.
Yeah, thank you, Counselor. So that's why January 15th, you'll see it noted as regular council meeting in capital. What I should say is that it's a planning approval meeting and a capital meeting. So that will meet our legislative deadlines.
Thank
Okay. Any notices of motion at this particular time? Any other business at this time? Year-end reflection, I'll do it this time. Because I'm the mayor, I guess I can go first, can I? And then I've done it different ways other years. We've even put people's names in a hat and drew them out. But I think we'll start, I'll do my little 10 cents worth, and then I think we'll start over here with Murray, and we'll just go around the table and end up with Bill, if that's okay. And I don't have a lot. There's a couple things that well, there's numerous things I'd like, but I picked the top 3, and I don't know how many you people picked, but my top 3, first one is to deal with Safina, and I think we're almost there. So I hope that it's already looked after by the time the new year comes. My second item that I'd like to see resolved fairly quickly is the property at the east end for our industrial park. Cargill is the property owner on that one, and it's holding up our industrial development out there. And I think it's pertinent that we get that show on the road and get it resolved, and then it opens up, more for the industrial growth. The third and final, and these aren't in any particular order. Unfortunately, when Jeff was here, he was going to do something with us, and it kind of just didn't get done, ran out of time. And we had talked about public input or public consultation with the property next door, the old administration building. And I think it's high time that we come up with a plan for that. And we had always said that we wanted to seek public input to get their ideas on what we want to do there. So those are my top 3 picks for the end of the year going into 2024. So I'll just leave it at that. Murray, I'll start with you.
So I'm just going to ask for a little bit of clarity. This is things I'm supposed to say, things that I would like to see being done.
You could say that it's been a great year. The mayor was wonderful. It's kind of a year-end review,
Exactly.
what you saw this past year and maybe what you'd like to see in the new year. I took the avenue that, I think we've had a pretty good council and what I would like to see going forward. So it's your call.
Just what he said. No, actually, I'd like to, the new members, I'd like to welcome them. It's been great to work with new blood for this last year. I think everybody were making progress. There's lots to do, and everybody has lots of ambition, and we're all striving basically for the same thing. So just let's keep doing what we're doing, and I'm sure great things will happen. Thank you.
Thanks, Murray. Councillor Foster?
Well, I know Murray's lying about liking working with me. I always bug him. But I forgot about this entirely. My planning is non-existent, so we're off to a wonderful start. I think we've had a pretty good year. It's been really good. Everyone's been very good as a new counselor to learn from. The staff's been wonderful to work with. And the mayor's been lovely, as well as our deputy mayor and all the other experienced members of council, and helping us get used to our new roles. And it's been, I guess, great working with everyone, and it looks forward to continuing working forward with everyone else here.
Thanks, Alex. Councillor Fournier?
I rather enjoyed this year that you get a sense that you can actually help out with problems in the community, identify problems in the community, ask constituents what they feel are problems in the community. I felt like a lot of people weren't quite used to having people just come up and directly ask them, what do you want us to do in town? I'm stupid, you're my employer, tell me what to do. I do find that they like having a local politician identify as stupid and ask for direction though. But for what I'd like to see happen in town, you guys already know what I want because I talk too much. I want sidewalks in Hibbert. I want a proper path to the nature pathway down by the bridge there on Frank Street. And I want a nice big community garden because I've got a couple of community groups that want one as well. So, and also you are a fantastic mayor. And gosh, I miss Jeff. He was a lot of fun. Greg, we'll get to know and love you as well.
Okay, thanks, Andrew.
Well, it's hard to follow both of those up, that's for sure. I think the same sentiments for sure. It's been a fun year, learning and getting to work with everybody, hearing all of Alex's stories in sandwich time afterwards. But yeah, I think we've done a lot of good in the last year, and there's still a lot that can be accomplished in the rest of our term. I think the old municipal building is something that I'd like to see started to get worked on here. And yeah, I'm excited for what we can do going forward, and it's been a pleasure getting to know and work with everyone.
Dean?
Thanks, Walter. So I come back to this saying, and I think people around the council table and maybe even staff have heard me say it before, that I say that the days are long and the years are short. And it's certainly, this year's certainly gone by quickly, but some of the days in between seemed a little bit longer than 24 hours, but that's just all perception is reality. Overall, I think our both council and staff, we've had a very good, an excellent level of engagement with the public. It was really encouraging to see council out at different events throughout the year, and for the public to reciprocate and come to events that we've hosted, whether it was council meetings or committee meetings or economic development functions, or even something as well, the homecoming. Like, that's going to be very exciting. I don't want to steal Doug's Councillor Phelps' thunder, but positives, like even in our meeting tonight, excellent news from the building department, lots of permits in Bob's department, keeps them busy, but it's a healthy indicator that our community is strong, it's growing, it's vibrant, we're moving forward. I touched on the youth programming through Darcy's recreation department, another encouraging sign for community engagement and engaging our youth and making them feel involved, part of the community. But also this meeting, we talked about challenges, we talked about development charges, we talked about housing issues. So there will be challenges to deal with in 2024. The mayor has touched on his top three. So there will be some heavy lifting to do there. But I always like to say, and I learned this from a previous employer, that a challenge should be looked upon as an opportunity. So I see 2024 as another year of endless opportunities and possibilities. And I'd like to finish by saying that I'm very grateful and appreciative to my fellow council members, our staff, and the community as a whole. I've had the opportunity to meet a lot of new people and new experiences, so I'm very grateful and appreciative of that. And also, being that this is the holiday season, take some time in between celebrations to call a friend or a relative that you haven't spoken to in a while, or even a neighbor, and just engage in some conversation and neighborly fellowship. And like to wish everyone Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and a Happy New Year. Thank you.
Thank you. Greg, I'll let you have an opportunity here as well.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess just a few things I want to acknowledge, certainly from my role being here since September. I've had certainly in my role, unwavering support from the council, and I want to, certainly acknowledge that. That's been really warm and heartening to myself and to my family as well. The other thing I wanted to do is I wanted to acknowledge certainly the activities of our staff. I'm really honored to be able to be the leader of the organization, and with the staff, you have a very, very dedicated and talented group of individuals here. And certainly it's been my honor and pleasure to be put in that leadership position of that particular group. Just on a general case, I would certainly wish everybody a Merry Christmas. Spend time with your friends and your family. Spend time being generous to others. So maybe that those others that don't have the means for us to be kind and to be generous. And then as well, the third item, it's not necessarily a New Year's resolution around health. I think one of the things that we learned during COVID, I hope, is that if you don't have your health, you don't have it. And so I would encourage everybody to be healthy and extend to you certainly best wishes for a healthy and happy, prosperous 2024.
Okay, thanks, Greg. Dan?
Thanks, Your Worship. On behalf of SLT, I'd like to echo Greg and thank all the staff this year for their hard work. I wish everyone a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And just remind everyone that if the roads are closed due to any winter events, that please stay off the roads. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Phelps.
Dan does not want to host at the municipal office this Christmas, so. Where'd the year go is what I have to say is Dean said the year went by fast and the days were, learning curve probably was the biggest thing. And I have to thank staff and fellow councilors and mayor for their patience and the stupid questions that they answered from me, because they probably thought, where did that come from? But thank you. Thank you. There's a good staff there, great staff. There's a great community here. 25 years ago in 99, I decided I was going to chair this 150, and here I am. And I think the next one, if you calculate the 25 years, some of us won't be here. But just reiterating the holiday and visiting, and that's our goal, is to bring people home to share this great community. And the mayor's levy to enjoy the fellowship. Neighbors pull the West Perth agricultural part of that into it. And then the New Year's kick it off and move towards August for the big event. And we're excited. We got some excited people, but just a reminder, it takes volunteers. And I know there's been people banging at my door, but to run a dance for 300, we have 14 people, and that's more than we need. But when it comes to running the homecoming event for the week at the end of July and into August, we will need a number of volunteers. The more volunteers we have, the less everybody has to work. It'd be nice if everybody could just work a 3-hour shift and enjoy the rest. So the council part of it, it's been trying. It's been interesting. It's been rewarding. And I think the big thing is people like to talk to you, whether it's good or bad, and they just want an answer. And whether the answer is what they wanted or not, they accept it. And as long as it's the truth, that's all they want, and that's all we can offer. So thanks, everybody, and Merry Christmas.
Thanks, Doug. Steve.
Thank you. So our municipality is not unique to the fact that we do have and will continue to have new members of council, management, staff in all the departments, committees, and boards. I'm thankful for the accepting and open-mindedness of those people as we see new and different ideas and viewpoints come to us that we maybe aren't familiar with or never considered before. So I'm very proud of what we do, and I think we just need to continue on as we are. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Councillor Vink.
Yeah, Mayor McKenzie, before the meeting, I wrote down 3 words. Proud, that we can be proud as a council, as staff, as a community, that we got to celebrate the opening of Ketterson Pavilion or the new long-term care home at West Perth Village. I think that's great to be proud of as a community. I wrote down collaboration in 2023, collaboration with the new council members, with staff, and community engagement, right to the most recent copy with the council. That I think we keep up that collaboration. We'll be able to get through, and the last word, grapple. We'll grapple with some of these issues that you mentioned, Mayor McKenzie, and the other upcoming issues that we have, or whether it's the budget that we have to grapple with. But I think altogether we'll be able to get through it. And yep, thank you for the support from all my colleagues. I appreciate it, and Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Nicholas. Councillor Chessel.
It's been a great year, especially as a new member of council, to come forward and have everybody be appreciative, and having members of the community come out and talk to you and you take their opinion back and represent them has been a great experience. So I just want to take that forward into the next year, that everybody can come out and participate and have a welcoming year. And that's all.
Hey, thank you, Diane. I don't know whether we saved the best for last or not.
Yeah, we did.
Councillor O'Donnell.
First thing, I just want to thank the staff for making our job easy. Without them, it'd be a difficult situation. I got a book full of good points through the whole year of what we learned, what I learned. Getting people to understand higher density in the public is a big thing. And for me, slowly understanding the budget and the big money, what it takes to run everyday operations. And the 2024 goals, ask more questions, have a meaning for obtainable housing. I'd like to see more tree planting initiatives. And I'd like to try to keep some people happy in the public.
Okay, thank you, Phil. The rest of the staff that are out there, anybody want to say anything at this time? You're welcome to have some comments if you so wish. They're shy. Okay. I just also, just before we do our confirmatory bylaw on that, I also would just like to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And Dean said, yeah, go over and see your neighbor. In my case, if I go over, you'll say, what do you want? You know, so it is a time to get out and, you know, meet your neighbors and friends, and time for socializing. So keep that in mind. Next item then to wrap out the year end is bylaw number 72, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council Corporation of West Perth. You read a first and second time this 18th day of December. Mover and seconder for that. Councillor Rose, Councillor O'Donnell, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. And recommendation number 72, 2023, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of West Perth. You read a third time and finally passed this 18th day of December. Third reading, Councillor Duck and Councillor Harold. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. And finally, the last one for this year, motion that Municipality of West Perth adjourns the council meeting at 8:14. Moved by Councillor Bink, seconded by Councillor Phelps. All those in favor? Everybody wants to leave. Opposed? Nobody's opposed. We're